is I've kind of just run through about 25 minutes or so on these slides. And then we've kind of opened up to questions and answers. But what I encourage folks to do is if you've got questions and you don't want to forget the questions, just throw it in the chat. And then when we get to the Q&A time, I'll first run through the questions and answers. But I would just suggest that I probably am going to get to your question as I go through the presentation. So I don't want to discourage you from putting stuff in the chat, but I think I might get to your questions. And I've got a couple of additional slides towards the end here that are kind of pre-built Q&A that we've had some typical questions and answers that have come up over the last couple of weeks. Sound good?
Yep.
I can't see you. That's the hard thing about sharing a screen. So I'm just staring at my own green dot on my Mac. So if you're shaking your head up and down, thank you. If you're not, go back to bed. Okay. So again, Joe Winter, Provost of Civil Air Patrol's Volunteer University. I'm most recently the Maryland Wing Civil Air Patrol Commander. On the outside, I'm an active duty Air Force officer assigned to the Maryland Air National Guard, where I get to play squadron commander for the Force Support Squadron. Additionally, because I don't have enough free time on my hands, I get to teach a couple classes a semester at Loyola University in Baltimore. So that's a little bit about me, and let's get the show on the road. So why in the world did this whole thing start, and where are we at today? And before I can get to today, though, I want to just walk back a couple years. And when I say a couple of years, it really started under the leadership of then Colonel Smith as the Southwest Region Commander. It was his vision and task really to get after how do we better develop our adult leaders. And that process started with the Leadership Development Working Group. And the Leadership Development Working Group was really to help prepare our commanders specifically to be better commanders and work on membership development in a better process that meets, again, the needs of our organization. That working group was turned over to Colonel Regina A. when General Smith became General Smith and became the national commander. And she's kind of led that charge up until really where we are today with Volunteer University. So why? The reality was that if you look back at when our program was designed, the existing professional development program, or I should say 3 days ago, the existing professional development program, it was based really on old, not only technology, but also old thought. And the program itself wasn't really polished up in a long time. So this was a chance, again, of a push from the Leadership Development Working Group to create an organization that meets the needs of our membership today, because really this is what it is today. You know, if you look at the photo on the far left there, you have young future cadets, I'd like to think, who have an electronic device in their hands. Many of you are parents and you've got children of your own that, you know, that's the normal for them, to have something that's connected in real time and sort of give that instant information. And we're mobile as an organization. Our members are mobile. The ability for our members to span across literally the globe and still remain connected is ever important today as it was, pre-COVID. And that, again, that instant gratification is certainly there. But realistically speaking, one of the big proponents for us to change this program and to sort of make Volunteer University what it is today is based upon some quick stories of some of our members. And I'm just going to call them Charlie, Pat, and Jordan. And if we think about Charlie's that go-getter member who is a former cadet who has really gone through the cadet program and recently transitioned to the senior member program. And because of his transition, you know, he's trying to figure out the way. What does it mean to be a CAP adult member? And he's got a lot to offer, but he's still pretty junior in his development as an adult member in the Civil Air Patrol program. So this program, we hope, is going to give him more relevant, more current information that's going to better prepare him to be a leader of Civil Air Patrol. Then we've got a member like Jordan. Well, Jordan works, unfortunately, a couple jobs just to be able to participate in social activities like Civil Air Patrol and provide for his family. And Jordan doesn't necessarily have the great deal of time that's necessary to be a traditional Civil Air Patrol member. So at best, Jordan shows up maybe once a month. But he really wants to continue that membership and that ownership of promotion and of the Civil Air Patrol. So again, this program is probably good for him because the program can be offered in an online setting, not just an on-site setting. And then we've got a member who we'll call Pat. Pat's wheelchair bound. And Pat, unfortunately, has to rely on others to get to squadron meetings. And similar to Jordan, his participation, it really relies upon time. But Pat's time is, again, unfortunately limited to those who can help support him to get to meetings. So the ability for Pat to jump in and out of the professional development program, or what we're now calling the education and training program, is really a seller for a member like Pat. He can attend classes when somebody can get him there, or he can attend some of the professional development events online. So as we, let's skip the slide there. So what does it look like? Well, our structure of the Civil Air Patrol Volunteer University is ultimately based upon a higher education model, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. We have modules instead of courses, and the reality and the reason why we went down the module mindset is because it's kind of plug and play. How many of us have probably picked up a regulation in the Civil Air Patrol and flipped through it and realized, well, we don't do it that way anymore, or that's not applicable, or that option's not there anymore. That happens pretty frequently. So the intent behind modules is in near real time, we can go out there and edit the module to meet the current program of Civil Air Patrol, or the current change, or the current technology that we've now adopted, or you name it. It just provides, again, that near real time adaptation to change the program. The program was built upon an adult learner. So one of the cool things was Colonel A, who is the Chief of Education and Training, in her day job, she works in academia full time, and she's actually the dean of an online portion of the university. And she has a bunch of graduate students, PhD students, who were working on finishing up their doctoral studies, and she invited them to do an internship with Civil Air Patrol headquarters. And so they helped QC the entire curriculum and spent a semester ensuring that the curriculum matched that of what an adult learner is expected to sort of learn at. The program is built in flexibility. Like I kind of mentioned the previous slide with the diversity of our membership, the flexibility provides our members to do this program completely online, to do a mix of online and on-site, or just do it completely on-site. So that flexibility and what we're calling high flex, that's sort of the current terminology that's used in higher ed, really provides that flexibility for our membership. And then embracing sort of what we're typically used to in the ES side of the house is the SQTR or Squitter type record. So it's or if you're an academic brain like me, think of it like a transcript. So every time you take a module, it's going to give you that credit in real time, and in some cases you're going to have to get approved for some of that credit because there might be a face-to-face requirement, whether that's via Zoom or Teams, or no kidding, truly face-to-face when eventually we can get back face-to-face. The themes. So the themes of our program, in every one of our modules, you will see our main themes come out in some sort of fashion, whether that's we talk about core values, we've infused our core values in every one of our modules. We hint towards safety, if not talk fully about safety. Certainly leadership is a key tenet of each of our modules, communication, diversity, and mentoring. So I say that just as a sort of a bumper sticker of something that we were very intentional about when we developed each of the modules. So who built it? Well, the interesting thing was, again, that Leadership Development Working Group pulled together about 250 members across the Civil Air Patrol, and they were broken down into the existing levels 1 through 5. And they took a hard look at the existing curriculum, and then they started to peel back. What's important for this level? What do we think our members need at this level? What do commanders value in the membership to bring at that particular level? So we kept some stuff. When I say we kept it, it was a complete rewrite where we probably made it more relevant to today. But then we also went out and partnered with universities like Air University at Maxwell and looked at their curriculum and was able to benchmark off of some of the new stuff that they have out in the field that are teaching Air Force officers. We also looked at academia across the United States, and we looked at the private sector to see what companies like, for example, we've got a number of folks on our team that worked at Amazon. We have some folks that worked at Disney Institute. So we took a lot of the great ideas that were happening in the communities around us and kind of infused it into what we are now today calling certainly Volunteer University. All right, so let me kind of switch gears and talk a little bit more about now the construct of Volunteer University. And I'll make sure that these slides, Alicia, get to you in at least a PDF form so you can push them out to the greater audience here. And I say that because our website is built intentionally to be pretty dynamic. We've got a frequently asked questions page that we continuously update, but then we continue to pump information there. So that initial website that's on this site is really your best bet for an initial quick answer outside the regulation, which is also out there. We also include our organizational email box. So there's 4 of us that monitor that email box. We've got a rotation down where if you email that email the address the first week, you get me, and so on and so forth. So that's also probably the best place to get an immediate answer. We all are kind of type A personalities and hate full email inboxes. So you'll at least get we're working on an answer for you, or, hey, that's a quick answer, here's the solution. So the key staff of Volunteer University. So Volunteer University is what I'm referring to as sort of the cornerstone of the education and training program. And that's led again under the direction of Colonel Regina A. as the chief. Under sort of her purview is a mentoring block, if you will, or a mentoring section. So Colonel Rose Hunt, the former Wisconsin Wing Commander, is leading up a new program and really sort of embracing the mentorship role. She's going to continue to roll that program out. I know that it's sort of still under development. And then the specialty tracks ultimately will also fall under education and training. So that's sort of I'd call the 1 to 2 year plan as the specialty tracks. The team will go out and look at specialty tracks next and revamp them and make them more relevant to where they need to be today. And then you get to Volunteer University, where, like I mentioned, I was the provost, sort of the chief academic officer, and I'm fortunate to have 2 deans, one for on-site learning and one for online learning. So Colonel Barry Melton is our dean for the on-site, and Lieutenant Colonel Brenda Reed is our dean for the online portion. So both modalities have a group of chairs, and each one of our levels 1 through 5, have a chair. And then a plethora of instructors and assistant instructors, which I'll talk more about the instructor process here in a couple slides. So pretty diverse group of folks who come from incredible backgrounds. And I'll give you a sneak peek of something we're going to do at the national conference, which is going to highlight a number of our instructors who I think are going to blow your socks off in terms of what credentials they bring to our program. I'll just tell you, I'll pause for a second and say, and you know this as leaders in Rocky Mountain region, but we've got some really incredible, talented members out there in the field. And I'm just super grateful that we managed to attract them just through word of mouth, really, because that's all really we've done is word of mouth and some social media hits about joining Volunteer University. So let me talk a little bit about the construct now. And the intent behind the Volunteer University is to really, again, provide flexibility, reduce some of the burden on the squadron commanders, and having all this programmatic modules already built and conversation points. So for each one of the levels, and I'm going to include pre-membership as a level for a second here, we've got a pretty robust student guide, we've got an instructor guide, and then we've got some learning aids. Learning aids typically are going to come in the form of some videos via PowerPoint, so embedded PowerPoints. But it's not a PowerPoint-heavy university. In fact, I think some of our folks initially, when they saw the content, they're like, "Gosh, why doesn't it tell me exactly what I'm supposed to say off this slide?" Well, we intentionally built it where it was meant to be a guide. So some of the presentations will simply have 2 or 3 slides, and it's maybe 3 or 4 words per slide. So it's just meant to be there as sort of a left and right guardrail for our instructors. So pre-membership. So the intent behind pre-membership is based upon three meetings, and this really hasn't changed from the construct of what Civil Air Patrol is trying to do. At the squadron level, it's meeting 1, we give an expectation to our members what Civil Air Patrol is all about. We talk about the mission, about membership categories, what I call that initial elevator speech about what Civil Air Patrol is all about. Meeting 2, we get a little deeper and we talk about the history of Civil Air Patrol, and you can read the slide as I sort of go through it. And then meeting 3, ultimately, we're trying to now kind of hook, line, and sinker, right? We pretty much probably have got the member into the organization, but before we start to introduce what the education training program is, we want to give them kind of a good solid foundation of joining what the Civil Air Patrol. So the first level, as you know, is level 1. And I put an asterisk on the bottom of the slide, and it says some topics have shifted during the final rollout, refer to 40-1. So when we built these slides for what we're calling our roadshow, this is where majority of the topics were when this was in development. After that fine-tuning, so I mentioned to you the PhD students, but then also as we went through some beta testing with our instructors and beta testing with the key leaders, we shifted a couple of the modules around between levels 1 through 5 just based upon natural flow, but then again also that good feedback from the folks who were what I call in the initial circle of Volunteer University. But level 1, that the focus really doesn't shift to what you would typically remember as being level 1. It's those basic skills. We're going to help assign a member a mentor so they can help navigate what the heck is this Civil Air Patrol thing. It's meant to be engaging for the individual, and really members should complete this training rather in about 30 days or less, and the target time is only about 4 to 6 hours. So level 1 should be significantly reduced from what the previous level 1 used to be in terms of time required to accomplish. And what we're calling level 1 is onboarding, right? So the training is really basic. You know, a lot of the stuff that's there is what we should expect all of our members to know at the very, very minimal to be a Civil Air Patrol member. The interesting thing about level 1, and this didn't change, it came as a surprise. You know, one of the frequently asked questions I've dealt with the last couple of days has been, well, what about our cadet sponsor members? They really have to do all this? And yeah, well, the cadet sponsor members had to do this in the existing level 1, and I'd argue they had to do a heck of a lot more that wasn't necessarily for cadet sponsor members. So sponsor members still do have to go through level 1. That did not change. We don't own the cadet programs reg, obviously, and quite frankly, I support that cadet sponsor members would have to stay in level 1. So level 2 stayed the same in terms of terminology, the learning phase. The focus is going to shift now to really trying to help members discern what path they're going to go into. So where it lists up here, it says the cores. That's sort of the core courses that everyone's going to have to go through. But then we break it down. So we're going to ask members to choose a path. Well, in some cases, that path is going to be natural because they're a new member and they have no experience and they have no sort of professional advanced reason to continue or rapidly continue the program, or they're not a former cadet, or they're not current or former military. So a new member will then have the added sort of modules of customs and courtesies, uniform, and things of the like. But those 4 paths, again, just to reiterate what we're asking our members to get into is if they're current or former military, they'll join that path. If they're a former cadet, they're going to join a different path. And again, professionals receiving advanced grade, think about our lawyers, our docs, our CFIs, our professional educators, and things of the like. None of that has changed in terms of who falls into those categories, but we're going to give them an option to choose one of those 4 paths. And some of them may all say, you know what, I don't want to go through current or former military or former cadet. I do want to take the route of new member. So the thing that we are, I think, are most excited about is that we're going to grant a lot of equivalency training for the folks if you choose one of those paths. So with the exception of new member, you're going to get sort of the entire curriculum. Within level 3 is the leadership phase. Again, at this point, we're now starting to think, hey, we've got these members for life, right? So we want to provide them a really strong foundation as they continue to build their leadership toolkit. And the list gets a little bit longer, but it's focused on training the member. And then ultimately, there's another path that's added, which is a command path. If we have members that want to join the command path, they certainly can, but it's not a requirement in level 3. It is an optional thing. However, there might be a requirement for the member at a local board. In order for you to become a commander, you've got to go back and take the command training track, which is certainly optional. We have not set that as a requirement at the education training level. Level 4, again, the focus is more now to the group level staff, group commander, wing level staff. Again, there's training the member, which has that laundry list of modules in the center of the slide there. But then we also introduce now training for a group commander. So folks who may want to choose a track to become a group commander, they can choose that track as well, and it'll add those modules to better prepare them, them to be a group commander. Training the wing commander. So the training the wing commander, this list is the existing list that takes place at the Wing Commanders College. The Wing Commanders College is still going to remain a separate entity. It's going to be a standalone program, at least for the time being. There's been no push for us to sort of inherit the Wing Commanders College. So that will stay the same. I just add that in there as specific information that the Wing Commanders will get if future Wing Commanders choose to take that. And then level 5, the executive leadership phase, as we all know it to be. And we added in, again, that third track of being a region commander. So we're providing a couple additional skill sets for members that decide, you know what, I do want to maybe consider going to be a region commander one day, and that'll be the option to do so. All right, so let's talk about...
So are they going to eliminate level 5 from wing commander?
No.
As a requirement?
Well, I don't want to speak for national leadership and what their decision may be, but currently that has not changed, and level 5 is still a requirement. We're just providing those tracks if folks want to take them, but it's from our position and our standpoint that we did not get into the decision-making game, if you will, of what's required to be a wing commander or a region commander in terms of levels.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem. Good question. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about grandfathering, which seems to be obviously a hot topic. We knew it was going to be a hot topic. We've communicated this for a couple months, and I'm not making excuses. Obviously, I'm just trying to, at some point we needed to draw a line in the sand, and that line in the sand when we published this material, really, it was back well over a year ago now. Initially, when we talked about grandfathering, but it really came to light back in the winter timeframe. So the transition obviously took place a couple days ago now on the 4th of August. So folks who had not completed level 1, there's no grandfathering period. They automatically transition to the new program. For level 2, so folks who were in level 1 and they're transitioning to level 2, if they've had SLS and OBC completed, they have 3 months in the program to complete the legacy program. If they don't have SLS and OBC done, they automatically switch to the new program. Truth in advertisement, you would automatically assume August, September, October, November. So for November, well, our membership system works in a calendar format. So really it's the end of November. So it's the end day of the month when I'm talking about the grandfather period. So I will tell you ready, and I'm asking for your support on this. A lot of the immediate waivers that we're getting, and oh, by the way, by rule, we've sort of entertained, and it's in the reg, that we're not going to entertain waivers. However, there's always going to be exceptions, right? And what we're asking folks to do is to staff those exceptions if there are extenuating circumstances. And I'll give you the best example that I've gotten so far, and I've gotten 3 requests so far since yesterday. They've completed SLS, they completed OBC, but the summary conversation for cadet protection was never entered into their system. So by default, the system punted them into the new education training program, and people are sort of scratching their head, well, why? Well, you never recorded the fact that you did a cadet program summary, or there was a particular, everyone seemed to be doing a lot of cadet protection summary conversations in the last week. Now, if there's a circumstance where, hey, the member did it, we've got proof that the member did it, the commander was just lazy and they didn't enter it, or the professional development officer didn't do it, didn't enter it. Certainly, I'm a realistic guy, and I'm always going to default to the member if one of us in leadership screwed up a little bit. So level 3, I'm not going to read each one of these to you, but for the level 3 transition, it's 6 months, level 4, it's 9 months, and level 5, it's 9 months. But it's all based upon the existing curriculum with CLC, Region Staff College, and National Staff College. The one sort of pitch that I ask you to consider, and I think I've got it in one of my last slides, is a lot of folks are saying, well, you just, you're screwing me because I did all this stuff. You asked me to do SLS, you asked me to do OBC, CLC, you asked me to invest all this time and I'm getting no credit for it. Well, I'd submit to you that no, you've got a fantastic foundation now to transition to the new program, and our new program is built upon those smaller, again, modules where you can do this at your own pace, you can do it on site, but you have that strong foundation to now bring those skill sets into the new program. So I just ask that you help sort of carry that water for us and be good, honest brokers of why we're transitioning to this new program. So this is just a quick visual chart. I know some folks don't like the previous chart. They want to see it sort of in a different sort of way. I'm going to quickly breeze through this. You can go back and look at it. But essentially, again, it just shows you what the requirements are. The requirements, by and large, don't necessarily change from what the existing PD program was. Just obviously the time and some of the command assignments and staff assignment recommendations that are listed there are important to pay attention to. The one thing on that previous slide is the time and grade requirements do not change. That's been another big question that we're getting. So the time and grade to promote does not change based upon the new program. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about process. So how do you sort of sign up for this thing called Volunteer University? Well, it's a couple ways. Excuse me. The first way is what we're calling the registration workflow, which I'll speak specifically to the online portion. So I'm hopeful that some of you have gone out to eServices and you've looked around, you poked around into the learning levels, professional levels is what it's called under the application, where you can sign up for a cohort. The reason why we're asking folks to, and let me pause for a second and talk a little bit about cohort. A cohort's a small group of people, roughly 25, and it could be people from across the Civil Air Patrol. In fact, we have we've got 5 level 5 cohorts already assigned. We've got about 6 in level 4, and they match up with instructors. So, for example, I'm getting ready to teach a level 5 cohort, and it's myself, General Smith, Colonel A, and Colonel Melton and Colonel Reed rather are teaching the first level 5 cohort. So 2 instructors and 2 assistant instructors, 25 students, and the intent behind the cohort is while you're working at your own pace, it's sort of like a safety net, right? It's a virtual group where you can share ideas, be collaborative. When there is the requirement to have that sort of connection, you now have a collaborative group to have that connection with. The second sort of idea or suggestion of registration workflows would be where the wing and region former professional development officers, what we're now calling education and training officers, pull out the program. And I've got some sample schedules to show you how you can sort of do that from a registration standpoint. So that stuff would still happen at the local level where folks would sign up, whether it's a weekend, monthly, bi-monthly, annually, whatever the case may be. And I'll show you some sample examples of that. The process was intentionally built to have continuous improvement loops. So I already mentioned it, where it's in the module base, where the materials can be updated as soon as a reg gets updated. We can constantly update the schedule and the content can be updated, and it's going to be based upon surveying. So all of our modules will have a survey element to it, and it's not meant to be a click fest, but we're striving for feedback. One, we want feedback on our instructors, but also we want feedback on the material and the content. Hey, this missed the mark, or this didn't make sense, or you know what, I don't think I've ever had to deal with this in Civil Air Patrol. Maybe that's our clue at the leadership level, punted back up to like level 5, for example. So I mentioned already about the cohorts and the availability. So we assign cohorts the first Tuesday of the month. So if you signed up today, the likelihood is that the guarantee is that you won't be put into a cohort until next month in September. And again, that's built upon those online community learners. So the other piece that I sort of left off by accident here now is the hybrid option. So you have one of the, again, uniqueness of the program where, you know what, I do want to attend, these five modules in person in Montana Wing, but I know I'm going to be in Colorado in a couple of weeks and they're offering something, so I want to attend these 3 modules face-to-face, and I want to do the rest of it online. That's cool, that's okay. But in order to get credit, you still have to go out and apply for a cohort. So if you are a student or any of your members want to automatically do that high flex idea, that hybrid idea where they're bouncing between online and on-site, they still have to apply for a cohort. There's not a timeline for the cohort. It's just simply the mechanism within these services for us to track and to assign a grade. So let's talk a little bit about instructor qualifications. So the cool thing is we have about 750 members across Civil Air Patrol that have requested to be instructors. I'm a truth in advertising guy, and I'll tell you right now we've onboarded about 350 of the 700 instructors. The reason why we're a little slow is, quite honestly, we've been moving like crazy folks running through a packed subway station. Not only are we all transitioning to sort of embracing the COVID world, we haven't had a chance to do a lot of stuff face-to-face, so we're dealing with the virtual stuff, but we've had to go through and review all the curriculum. I had to onboard all of our initial staff, and all the initial staff are reviewing every single instructor candidate's resume and application. So they're moving a little slower than I think we all anticipated initially, and I'm not faulting their great work because it's tremendous work. It's a bit tedious. And just I think 2 nights ago, I sent an email to everyone that we haven't communicated with yet and said, hey, hold on, we still have you in the hopper. We're not thinking about you. We just need a couple more breathing room to continue to onboard. So as we do the review of the applications and the resume, we then put together a spreadsheet for national leadership, and that national leadership sends it to the region and wing commanders to give the thumbs up. I'm sure some of you have seen those emails that have come, and we do that every single week. So every Monday, we communicate a list of instructor candidates. And then once we get the thumbs up that they're approved, and by and large, about 99.9% of the folks get approved by command, we put them into our instructor course. The instructor course is 100% online at the moment, just because of social distancing stuff. And we have a quick summary conversation with the member after the instructor course, and then they're automatically given sort of the instructor rights, if you will. Most of our instructors will be assigned as an assistant instructor, and we've got a bit of a validation process where if it's virtual, somebody's going to be able to watch over and just give them some feedback. It's not meant to be, hey, this person's not ready to be an instructor. And if they're not ready immediately, that's great. They'll stay as an assistant instructor, but it's really meant to give them feedback, and then we'll sort of check them off and they'll become an instructor. So it's a set type system. So they have to be serving in the level for more than a year in order to qualify to teach at that level. And if we onboard the instructor as a level 5, well, that means they can teach at level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's no, hey, I'm only online for level 5. There's no such thing. Initially, that touch point was perhaps with the online level 5 chair, but the reality is, if they're approved at level 5, they can teach at any of the levels below them. There are a couple folks, and we're defaulting to the member, right? So if the member says, I'm not comfortable whatsoever doing the online thing, I just want to teach on site, that's great. We annotate that in our internal system, or vice versa. They're not comfortable teaching on site for whatever reason. They want to stick to online because of timing or flexibility. That's okay. What's the time limit? Well, it's up to the member, really. So when we assign them a module, we're not going to say, hey, Air Force brain, Captain Snuffy, you're assigned to teach a module 2 in level 3. If they say no, we don't kick them out, right? It's just no, I don't have the ability to do that. That's okay. So we anticipate that there'll be some instructors that just want to teach 1 or 2 modules every couple of months. That's okay. We have the expectation, or we know there's some folks that are out there that are just biting at the bit, and they say, hey, I want to teach as much as I can because I'm passionate about sort of helping my fellow CAP member. That's awesome as well. So I already mentioned the approval thing, and then the waiver. So we wanted to provide some flexibility into the program. So say that you guys during your Rocky Mountain region university that you hold at the Air Force Academy, you've had the ability to bring in the superintendent of the Air Force Academy. That's awesome. And guess what? I'm the guy that gets to say, yep, I can vouch for the 3-star for him to come in and give a lesson on core values or time management or diversity and inclusion. And obviously, we're not going to put him through the instructor qualification process. It's just a quick thumbs up. Yep, this guest speaker is approved, and that will just be a communication from the local POC who's running the course to say, hey, we've got this great external speaker to come in. I mentioned the training already. I don't think I need to hit anything else for the training, but the one thing I'll tell you about the training is, I think we've done historically an injustice for our members who, we hand them a binder. Historically, we say, hey, go teach Region Staff College and go figure it out. And oh, by the way, here's some crappy curriculum and maybe a couple slides. And I'm not knocking what we used to have, but it was sort of just pull it off the shelf and sort of plug and play, and there wasn't a lot of continuity. Well, this training course, and while we did have a quick trainer course on our former learning management system, this training course, I think, again, is more relevant to the needs of our members, and it's got a lot more topics of how do you help that member who's dominating the conversation? How do you get the person who maybe is really quiet and more engaged? So a lot of that more classroom management type style comes out in the instructor training, which I think will be very helpful for our volunteers. The expectations of our instructors, well, they're going to be responsible for doing some grading. And I'm not talking about reading paper and doing grammar, things like that, but there might be some short quizzes. There might be some assignments that they have to do. That will be a requirement for them. They have to be available to answer questions and answers because the program, again, is that hybrid and high flex mentality. You might have some emails that come in at midnight, and you might have some emails that come in at 6 a.m. That's okay, but they just have to be available at some point during the day to answer some of those questions. And then the load student to instructor ratio, like I mentioned, 25 in a cohort and 4 instructors. So it's a fair balance, we think, and it's a pretty intentional, student ratio, 1-4 there. All right, so let me quickly run through some sample schedules. And like I mentioned in the previous slide, the topic shifted, so don't take necessarily screenshots and say, okay, this is how we're going to run with it in our wing or our region. But I just show you this just as a quick example. So the program can easily be, and we chose level 3 because at the time we built these slides, level 3 was the most developed in terms of content and modules. So it could be a quarterly plan for level 3 lasting over 24 months, and it's just broken down, for example, by quarters. We have new and updated training plans based upon the current content material, and we're going to deploy that to the field here relatively soon. So again, very quick overview of how it can be done during the quarter. Monthly plan, you can do it level 3 over 24 months, and again, just a sample what we think would be a good approach in terms of months. Twice a yearly professional development event where you do it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What we introduce here in the biannual idea, though, is you can delegate to units for them to do core values for leaders, for example. So again, the burden share, if you will, doesn't always have to be on the wing or the region or a group. You can sort of delegate as much as you want or as little as you want. A week-long program, and we kind of stole this concept from you all, knowing that the Rocky Mountain region has done your Rocky Mountain U. I think I'm getting that right. I've never been invited, hint, hint. But Sunday through Saturday, for example, it lists those events and how you can do that. You guys obviously have a great program, and I think this program would be really helpful to kind of take off that same model. You can also do it where what we're calling a responsibility mapping approach. So the responsibility mapping approach would be, and this is just one version. I think I've got 2 or 3 versions to give you an example. You can assign the first column to the units to instruct. You can assign the middle to groups, in the third column there to wings. Same thing, here's a mapping approach. Well, complete these modules online, assign the middle ones to the units, and then the third get assigned to group and wing. I think I hit the third one. Third one obviously just did a bit of a hybrid. But again, it's meant to show simply that there's significant flexibility built into this program for you all to embrace how our members want to learn and what their desire to learn is, right? So the fascinating thing is, if there's anything possibly good to come out of COVID, is folks are much more comfortable now online. And I'm not trying to ditch the on-site, because I am much more. I love the interaction with people. As a faculty member, I got the unfortunate bad news this afternoon that Loyola is going all virtual for next academic year, and it crushed me a little bit, right? Because I'm a guy that loves to have that human interaction and classroom management, and be engaged that way. I'm going to make it work on Moodle, but on Zoom. But the reality is, it's just how people learn and how people sort of interact. So how can you help? Well, what I'm asking folks to do at the leadership level certainly is to share, right? Share the content, share the enthusiasm for the program. We have not made a monumental change, and I'm not taking credit for this, because I sort of inherited a lot of the work. I had the chance to work on level 4 in the Leadership Development Working Group, but again, those 250 plus members are really the backbone to what Civil Airpatrol Volunteer University is. But share the enthusiasm and the excitement for this program, and for no other reason, I think it's our obligation and opportunity to provide the best possible skills and tools for our membership, for them to be those great dynamic leaders that we expect at the local level, that we expect at the wing and region level. Engage, right? Be a part of the process. Volunteer to be an instructor. Ask us how you can help sort of be that good cheerleader for us and for the program. And that really gets to the third bullet out there, which is promote. Not only promote your members, but promote the program, and promote it how the flexibility of the program, which I think, again, is going to appease to our members significantly so. And if you don't know the answers to the question, refer them to us, right? Refer them to the leadership of the Volunteer University. Again, we've got a pretty big team that's already been built, and lots of folks who are really excited to continue this launch. So let me go transition to questions, and again, I'll share these slides so you have all of our information, but these are the point email addresses for everyone, but that email address on the previous slide gets to all of us. So on the next slide, I've got sort of tips, and I think majority of you may have seen these in one shape or fashion, and then, like I said, I'll open up to question and answers. I apologize, there's probably an eye chart on your screen, but these are quick top 10 tips, and I'm not going to read word for word for you, but who to contact, I've already mentioned that. That's us at CAP Vol-U at CAP NHQ. There had been a lot of questions about cohorts. I really just quickly glazed over what a cohort is, but we did recognize that folks who just weren't familiar with the concept of cohort, so we created a quick guide. It's out on e-services, but that hyperlink will also get you to it. What do you do if you don't have qualified instructor list or list of instructors? I'll take this as a hit, because in the monumental task of launching this program, and oh, by the way, General Smith was relentless, and I'm not faulting him, because he kept us incredibly motivated to get this done by his deadline. It was a monumental task to shift all of this content, to build all this content, to load it into learning management system, to format everything. You would not believe, well, you would believe, because you're all great leaders in Civil Airpatrol, but if I ask somebody to put something in blue, well, guess what? If I don't give the exact name of blue on Microsoft Word, I'm going to get 35 blues. So if you were anal retentive like me, we had to go back and reformat a lot of stuff. So it just took a lot more time. Again, I'm not making excuses, but one of the things that we kind of missed through the process was when we did the initial IT ask, which they are my heroes, by the way. They've done a tremendous job, our IT staff at National Headquarters. One of the things we did not ask for was a report feature for qualified instructors. So we have the ability to assign the permission in the learning management system for instructors. It just doesn't have an export of instructor approval. So we're kind of hand jamming until IT can get it into their productivity or their production list to get us sort of an after program built report. So in the meantime, just get in touch with us and we have that. So like I said, we're up to nearly 400 approved instructors, and I do have that broken down by wing and region. And what our goal ultimately in the next couple of days here is to throw that up onto SharePoint site so everyone has at least view access. Tip 4 is help students choose wisely between online and on-site. Again, I think flexibility is the key word to share with your members. Can we teach technology? Well, I think so, but just not fully online, and I recognize that, but there's some great collaborative tools, certainly Teams that we're on tonight. Zoom is another good one. GoToMeeting has been another good one, and your squadrons have adapted, no doubt, to an online learning environment. How does the student change their modality of learning? Well, they just communicate that they want to change, but ultimately, again, the program is built upon that flexibility. When a student joins into a cohort, we have a pretty robust welcome letter that kind of helps guide them through that process as well. How do we provide immediate feedback if necessary? Well, our frequently asked questions is a great first stop. Instructors, our chairs, again, and I'd foot stomp one of the great things about this program, because it is built in that module mindset. We have the ability to change things in near real time. We've got a pretty mapped way to do some change management, and we've empowered quite a bit of our instructors and our level chairs to make changes directly. But when we make a change, just to give you sort of perspective, we've got to change the online learning management system. We've got to change the printed materials that are out there on our website. How do you monitor students' progress and access and needs services? The team has a quick chart that we're nearly finalized, so you can go out there. There's a report feature in the new professional levels program application that will sort of capture where folks are and where they are in their journey through the various levels. The trick is, until the grandfather period ends, you're only going to see people in the new program. So it's not going to take the existing program. But the reports from the e-services module members reports is not going away. So you'll still have the ability to pull what I call legacy programmatic information. How do you suggest changes to curriculum? Again, I kind of hinted towards that already, but CAP Vol U at nhq.gov there is the best way to get that ball rolling. And then recruit instructors within your wing. So like I mentioned, it's a deliberate process for us. We're trying to speed that process up. I'm pretty confident once the instruction starts to take place, our level chairs will have a little more white space on their calendars because, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that we're also doing 12 sessions at the national conference, and each one of the level chairs took a little chunk of that and created video and content. So they've also been hammering away to make sure that we're prepared for next weekend for the national conference. But I'd encourage you to also apply as an instructor. But if you have folks saying, well, I applied, I haven't heard back yet, they should have gotten an email from me by now. But if not, just say, hey, they're working through it. There's no challenges there. We didn't forget about you, and we're not intentionally ignoring you, which some folks think that I'm doing, which I'm absolutely not doing. E-services. So we've created a pretty, I think, sweet PDF document that's out there about the e-services application, what we're calling professional levels. When you log into e-services, is over on the right, but that link there will take you to it as well. Sort of a step-by-step process for every level of how you sort of navigate the new professional levels. We collaborated with IT to develop that document, so it's a good desktop reference. And then Access application, which is our learning management system. I'm sure a majority of you have already been in Access for some sort of CAP professional development like course that's been required for you, but that's where all of our online content lives. That's the end of my slides. So let me get rid of the slides here for a second. And one thing I forgot to mention about the on-site. So all of the curriculum, so the student guide, the instructor guide, and what I call the learning enhancement tools are also available right on the education and training homepage. So a member, leader, you name it, can go out there and pull that content down. We got some feedback early on that folks didn't like the idea of having to click each individual module and download that, so we actually zip filed all of the content for each one of the levels 1 through 5, so you can download it in a quick zip file and have access to all the levels. So there's no secret in any of our content or any of our curriculum, and we encourage folks to go out there and start poking around into that. So with that, I've talked a lot, and a lot more than I expected to, and I see a ton of questions, which is great. So how about I answer some questions, maybe? And then I'll open up to Q&A. Sound good? I can see now. Spencer, at least I can see you. You're the only one I can see. Thanks for the thumbs up. All right, so when's the next Wing Commanders College? I keep hearing it's something I need, but okay. So the The next Wing Commanders, I don't know if somebody answered you, by the way. I'm going in reverse order here. The next Wing Commanders College, I don't know the exact date, but it is still happening. We are not going to automatically transition unless COVID prevents us from doing a face-to-face Wing Commanders College. But Colonel Hunt, Rose Hunt, is still the point of contact for that. But Spencer, I can make sure I get, I'll sync up with you via email to get you a definite answer.
I am voting for online if you need that. It would sure help with the paid time off I have to take and the travel expense.
There you go. All right. So Wiley Brady, and I apologize if I get somebody's name wrong here. What do we do if we have a new commander who needs training but is not ready for level 3 because they are not done with level 2? That's okay. So the requirement necessarily be to have that for the commander. All that stuff is the discretion of your leadership. Again, we chopped some of the training for squadron commander things alike based upon where we think developmentally it made the most sense, but recognizing, especially in smaller wings, that you may have to have somebody who's just recently completed level 1 as a squadron commander. That we're realist in that process. Is the new program topic content available to education training officers? I think I grabbed that answer already, Stephen. If not, please just hit me up. Alicia, you said yes. Thank you for answering. Go to virtual where? Okay, on e-services, somebody keeps asking questions. On e-services, the IT folks have put the links on how to sign up in the box. Okay, right, great. I'm just rereading your chats. All right, so I think I've got all the chat questions answered. What kind of questions you have for me or feedback or anything you think we need to be concerned about or that we're not thinking about or any other burning questions?
So one question I have, since Dave Knight commented on there, reminded me, is Chaplain's College. How is that going to change in terms of all this?
Yep. So Chaplain College is still, a separate entity to us. That's still ongoing. That they're not rolled up under us. One of the things that the chaplains are actually asking for, and I say this as non-attribution, right? So if those of you in the academic world, right, non-attribution. Joe Winter didn't say this, but what you think you heard was the chaplains actually want to sort of join us in the sense of they want to have sort of a college within the volunteer university. That's the Chaplain College. We're certainly proponents of that because I think it helps integrate the messaging and it helps integrate the curriculum and everything looks the same across our professional development pursuits. But as it stands right now, the Chaplains College and the IG College all are still standalone. But the credit, their equivalency credit, there are parts that sort of transition over, which in the new Reg 40-1, in one of the attachments, maybe attachment 7 if my memory is correct, it'll show some equivalency credit.
So currently, we do have the University of Rocky Mountain Region.
Yeah.
In terms of the Region Staff College portion, if I just wanted to hold several different courses that week,
yep.
Instead of the old-fashioned Region Staff College, I could do that, or I could just shorten it and do 4 days or something and bring everybody in for a nice little banquet or something with RMR. I mean, I can kind of design that however I want, truly, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So that like I said, that's one of the great things about the flexibility to this whole process is you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. And I think you can also empower your wings and your groups and squadrons, if you have groups, to also be responsible for content. And the cool thing too is, you can also, if you're going to do a week-long idea, this is just an idea that, popped in my brain for you to consider is, prerequisites. So if they need to do a couple of things online, which are available online, before they come to Rocky Mountain U. All right, so I think
change too much.
Yeah. I think Rick, I saw your hand up go first virtually. So
actually, someone was ahead of me, but anyway, my question is: you had a colored slide in there about the different levels that was in the presentation, and I have a copy of that presentation that Colonel A sent me.
Great.
But my question is: one of the things is to be on staff at some event,
right,
for level 4.
Correct.
And I've got a member who's a functional quadriplegic who has completed level 3, but as the years go by, he's only in his mid-40s, but he doesn't travel well.
Sure.
He has served on staff with me several places, but he just does not travel well.
Sure.
What happens to that requirement?
Yeah. So, the concept or the suggestion that I would have for you is one, let's ask the member, right? Let's get the member's opinion of what they want to do. Maybe because of our online opportunities now, they can potentially, help plan a program. And that's a conversation with you and your education training officer, and I apologize, I don't know what your role is, Rick, but, whenever, I'm sorry?
I'm the wing commander.
Okay, perfect. So for you, maybe, obviously you're empowered as a wing commander now to be, to give that credit and recognize, hey, you know what, I want to work with this member, I want to promote them, and we should want to promote this member. And, maybe you can assign them a task to help sort of lead, a smaller portion of an activity virtually if they can, or prepare something for you. I leave that up to a discussion for you and your education training officer, and you can sort of develop that content from that perspective, or that permission from that perspective.
Yeah, I have a great Harlan Rebnick who's on the call with us tonight. He's the director of education and training for the wing.
Awesome, thank you, sir. All right, so let's see. I know Spencer, rather, your hand is up too, but I think there's somebody else I was missing. But David, let's go with David Knight actually first. I think your hand's up too.
Yeah, FYI here, as far as the chaplain corps is concerned, under the new regulation, they're looking at changing the name to the Annual Region Chaplain Corps Conference, and which they shortened to ARC. Hopefully no floods, but that's what we're looking at and trying to work it out so that we would just need to have, chaplain corps personnel to attend once rather than the twice. So, but that's still in the process, you know how it is.
Yeah, sure.
Get all the ducks in a row.
That's right. And we certainly want, one of, I think that our passions with this program is, again, if you haven't heard me say one word frequently, it's flexibility, right? We want to be able to meet the needs of our organization, but also recognize the balance of time that our members contribute to the program as well.
Right.
All right, Spencer, I got you next.
Yeah, so I originally signed up as an instructor for both online and in person, I believe was the option. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, my understanding when I did that was that, we wouldn't have to be instructors like all the time. It was just kind of like if I needed to teach my wing stuff, but I wanted to do it online for my members, and I, as an instructor, can I create a cohort and then throw them in it? I have that ability.
You should.
And then, will I be expected to teach a certain amount, certain times? Like, is there anything like that? Like, okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Yep. Yeah. The flexibility is there for you. And again, our construct is it's 4 instructors to 25 in a cohort, but obviously we can always debate that, right? If you will. I don't mean that negatively. We always have the ability to decide, hey, this makes more sense because we're going to do something again like Rocky Mountain U or Montana U, whatever the case may be. So yeah, absolutely, we can. There's great flexibility there for you.
As a part of that, I signed up as an instructor. Am I allowed to teach everything? How does that? I mean, I took the instructor course. I'm done with it. I'm just waiting to be assigned to the in-person discussion or whatever it is. But am I allowed to teach everything? Squadron leadership school, group commanders, wing commanders, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I don't have level 5 yet. Like, what are we allowed to exactly teach?
Sure, good question. So, what we're asked, the requirement is that you have to have been in a particular level for at least 1 year. That's the minimum requirement. So in your case, you've been in level 4 for, let's call it a year and a half. You can teach levels 1 through 4, but your sitting wing commander, we certainly will give you permission, if you will, to teach the wing commander piece at some point. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend that right now if you're a brand new wing commander, but squadron commander, if you have previous squadron commander experience, we'll sort of bless you off for having that. So we capture some of that demographic information, obviously, from e-services when we onboard you as an instructor, and we've got a running sort of database that shows where we can plug and play folks.
And then as we're doing that for the in-person courses, sorry, I'm taking up a lot of time. I have a lot of questions. if we do the online stuff, do we break it out in the suggested schedules like you did over multiple months, or can we just knock it out in an entire week?
Yeah, no, yeah, the flexibility is there to knock it out in a week. I just be mindful of our members' times. That's all, right? I mean, it's just, you're going to get a smaller. I would suspect you'll get a smaller group of folks in 1 week than you will over an extended period of time.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, that's fine. Keep them coming. All right, Timothy Thornton. Right?
Yeah, thanks. I've got. I think I might have gotten a partial answer to one of my questions, which is, can we make our own cohort where we assign who is in the cohort, or does it have to go through eServices where it automatically assigns them to the cohort the next month?
Yeah, so it still has to go through eServices, so you'll still connect with us at Volunteer University, and that's simply the mechanism of the IT solution. It requires us to group them in a cohort in eServices in order to grant the credit. That's how the system communicates for credit to ultimately appear on the eServices record. So that it'll still have to sort of happen with us, but there is flexibility built in for us to work directly with you to create cohorts.
Okay, and then you all said you had the list of all the instructors, and we can't pull a report on that yet. Can I get a list of the in-person instructors that are near the Wyoming wing area?
Yep, you sure can. So, like I said, in the presentation, it is my commitment to get. So we have the list done. I'm just waiting, to be honest with you. So we're in round 8 of approvals from region and national leadership and wing leadership. I'm just waiting for that approval to come back before I post it. So at least it's the most current. We know that we're going to probably get a ton of folks to apply after the national conference. So you'll get sort of another big batch of instructors after the national conference as well, likely.
So, do you have an expected timeline for when you think that will happen and that information will be available?
The spreadsheet?
Yes.
So we will. Trying to think what to say. Today's Thursday. We typically get a thumbs up back from national headquarters on Saturday, so I'm hopeful by Sunday, if not Monday the latest, that we will have it and we'll send it out to my intent is to send it to all the education training officers, and we'll probably copy wing commanders on the first go around just so they know the battle rhythm and where to get their approved instructor list. We're probably going to hang it. So if you're a region or a wing education training officer, national headquarters sets you up to be part of a team site. It'll probably live within Teams, which is ultimately SharePoint.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Wiley, I think we'll go with Wiley. What do you got?
Question for you. When we're talking about that 1 year in a level.
Correct.
I'm in an odd situation. So is actually Major Holmes from our wing. Major Holmes is prior retired Major, U.S. Navy. He has taught SLS, CLC courses for us. I have taught SLS, CLC courses. Neither one of us has more than 2 years in, and both of us are waiting for the national conference to end in order to get our level 3 signed off. We were both professional appointments for our rank.
Right.
Do we still have to wait that 1 year before we can teach level 3 courses? Once that level 3 is approved?
Yeah.
Because I'm the acting wing EOT, he is the assistant wing EOT.
Right. So by default, the answer is yes. However, like I mentioned to you, I have the ability to waive some of those.
Okay, that was what I was gonna. When we get down to doing the face-to-face, if that still is a case that we haven't got the time in by the time we can get back to that, is just send you a notice then that says, hey, we need to be able to do this because we're in these positions within the wing.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, I'm not going to break you in terms of, hold up any of our members just because, proximity and qualifications. Obviously, you bring professional qualifications and credentials that, just from very, very quickly chatting with you makes sense to do a waiver. So that's totally acceptable.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, Alicia, you got a question.
Okay, so the one thing that I keep on getting asked by people is how do the specialty tracks fit into this, and are they going to be updated as well eventually, since this is just the levels?
Yeah. So the specialty tracks, it still stays as it is in terms of the requirements as you look through. You still need, technician rating for the various levels. We did not touch that component yet. It is in the long-term plan. When I say long-term plan, probably 1 year out from now is when the specialty tracks are going to get a deep dive look at it. And we're actually just waiting. Regina's, Colonel A is waiting to onboard somebody to kind of lead the charge of all things specialty tracks. But for the time being, the requirements, as it was in the old PD program, still stand in terms of what technician rating, senior rating, master rating. Stephen Holmes, I think you have a question as well.
Hello, Colonel. Yeah, quick question. I'm looking at the e-services, the new area that we pointed out for the new content, and I was checking out the cohorts and professional levels, and for the levels where it, for example, I've completed level 2 already, and like Wiley said, we're waiting for level 3. But for the levels that are completed, and in those levels where it says there's items that are not completed, what does a member do to indicate that they've completed level 1 or level 2? Do they have to submit something in that section? It's should be in the system somewhere, I would think. But how should we advise people when they get to that section for the levels they've already completed? What do they put into those boxes so it's recognized in the system that part's been completed and they should be moving on to the next level?
Right. So at the top of the two things I want to just mention. The guide that's out there is really helpful, and I would just ask that you help share the guide for us, because I know that I log into e-services 25,000 times a day, and I don't necessarily always read, hey, this guide is available. But it's a really good tool, so I ask that you help sort of share the guide that's out there, and I have the link there in our PowerPoint presentation from this evening, and it's I think under news, the e-services news box when you first log in. So what'll happen is that the top of the level will turn green, which will indicate that level is complete, which will then automatically dictate or sort of respond that, hey, level 2 is available. Plus, on the member's record, it'll still show that they've completed the various levels at that particular time frame. So from an equivalency training standpoint, if you have some stuff that is coming over, again, it's dynamic in the sense of the grandfather period that's still out there. You also have the ability to apply for if you think there was a glitch and something didn't come over. Although we kind of did a pretty significant survey sample to ensure that all the stuff that needed to come over did, like OPSEC training, like I mentioned earlier, the summary conversations and things of the like. So the top bar should turn green, which would indicate that you're completed with that level. The other sort of catch in the process that's pretty helpful is the way that the e-services and Axis are communicating. You'll have access to the new content material in Axis at any given point. So if you've completed level 2 and you're waiting to go to level 3, if you log into Axis right now and click on professional learning, it'll show all the level 3 modules that are available for you, for example. So there's a couple places where you can bounce around to see what you still need, but the big thing is the top bar will sort of indicate green that you've completed that level. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did, and I just want to mention, I really like the way that you're rolling out the program. The presentation we did tonight, this is my 3rd time seeing it. I saw it in a region conference in RSC and then now, but it's all been helpful. The delivery is really well and well done and well received. So thank you so much, all of your team, for the effort you've put in.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's a labor of love, no doubt. So we've got a great team, as you've already identified. So thanks so much for that feedback. Yes, sir, Spencer.
Hey, I was looking at my test. I was taking the IG refresher. Part 4 is not in there. I didn't know if you had anything to do with that or not, but I figured I'd let you know. And then
I don't, but I'll pass it to the team.
Okay. And then I had a question.
Okay.
And now I forgot it. So
it's the easiest question of the night. Thank you.
Oh, got it. Is there any way you guys could do like literally a 5-minute presentation that would tell the layman's people of CAP like exactly real quick and dirty how this works? in a video that's really exciting and actually gets them active and engaged or something. I haven't seen anything like that, and I don't think, I'm buying into it, but I don't think that a lot of our members are buying in just yet, and I think something like that might be super helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback and a great tasker for us to consider. One thing I maybe ask for your partnership on is let us get through the national conference. Like I mentioned, we've got 12 sessions that are volunteer university specific, to include myself and Colonel Ayer doing one of the keynotes. So I'm hopeful that that will continue to generate that buzz about volunteer university, but point well taken. The other thing I'd ask is help us reshare some of the content that the public affairs folks have helped us out with through social media. So we had created those blue background kind of levels. So this is what happens to progress through level 1. This is what happens at 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, our next iteration, which is under development right now, so we've got a small arm of folks who are working social media for us, is we're creating an avatar, and that avatar is going to be, okay, great. To your point, what do I do now? You've told me all about this, but how do I actually sign up for a cohort? How do I actually access the information? So that's phase 2 of our marketing plan, and that's I've seen the first draft already. So I'm hopeful that those will get pushed probably post-conference, because the team is just slammed at national and trying to get ready for the national conference. And I don't know what made me just think of this, but I'll throw that out there. One of the other incentives that we're trying to get after with our instructors is we actually have it sitting at the uniform committee right now as an instructor badge. I think it looks pretty slick, and the marketing and public affairs team helped us sort of design it. And it's our intent that while you're a sitting instructor, you'll get to wear a badge, because everyone loves badges. And then ultimately, after a period of time, details to be confirmed, you'll have the ability to have permanent wear of the badge. So that's another sort of incentive that we're getting after for our instructors, which didn't really have much to do with your question, but hopefully it's an incentive for folks. Okay, Miss Deborah Archer, I think, right? I think I'm saying that right, Colonel Archer?
Yes, that's
okay.
Quick question. I heard you mention some of them were talking about having like a cohort for like Rocky Mountain University, and that it would still go through e-services to create the cohort. So if we decided to do a cohort that was like region specific for like level 5, how would we do that? How would we tell our members? Would we have them sign up through the online e-services and then email you guys a list of who we'd like in this cohort and what instructors are available? Or I'd just really like to know. I know I've been asked to go ahead and jump on and instruct in the online cohort, and I've hesitated because I don't know what's the division between national, online, and local, and I think I might be inundated with local teaching needs.
Sure thing. So yes, you answered the question correctly. You'll just send us a quick note and say, hey, we've actually have a cohort that we'd like to sort of manage locally, but it would still sort of funnel through us, and we can do the magic on the back end to put select everyone specifically into a cohort. But there should be, there's no difference between the material. The curriculum is the approved curriculum. You're an approved instructor, and you can help do a local cohort using the folks. The one thing I would just sort of suggest to folks, though, is, I had the chance before I sort of jumped into this role of leading cadet officer school for a number of years at Maxwell. And one of the cool things on the cadet side is, we intentionally brought cadets from every single wing, provided we had an applicant from every single wing, just to give that diversity of thought. And that's just something I ask you all to consider too, is, there's great diversity within Civil Air Patrol. So while I'm all about that teaming and that mentality of, hey, let's Rocky Mountain you, but also don't forget sometimes, some of our best ideas are hidden in wings that, we don't think about because they're not within our region, if you will. So I'm not trying to squash the concept of doing local cohorts, but, let's also think creatively and maybe not, maybe it's 1 or 2 people from another region or something of the like as guests. Just like we currently do, but I think I've made the point. Okay.
And I understand that,
yes.
but just to follow up, I was thinking more along the lines, if we're doing the hybrid, in person and online, that it would be easier to have that cohort that would, if we had a strong in-person component to that.
Yeah, fair point. Yep, fair point. Well taken. Absolutely. Yeah. So well, I'm not going to say no to anything there. And that's a great point. Love it. Thank you. Okay, Wiley, I think you got your hand up again, or?
Yeah, I just pulled up my records in e-services
Okay.
on Axis and looked at it. My basic instructor course for CDI does not show completed on the Axis side. If you go on the other side, yes, it will show. So, and it will also show training leaders of cadets, basic and advanced are not showing.
Right.
I've got there's missing stuff from the one side. It does not appear to have transferred over from the old LMS.
Yes.
Is that still being worked on?
Yep. So what I'll tell you is the program of record, if you will, is still e-services, right? So your credit that you have is still listed within e-services. So are you saying that it's not showing up in quote unquote the transcript?
If I go into regular LMS,
right,
and I just don't go into Axis.
Okay, I understand.
Those classes show on that transcript. But if I go in and look at the transcript or look at courses that I've completed, it doesn't show on the Axis side. The basic instructor course, it doesn't show I don't even, if I remember right, I don't think it even showed, was not showing my senior rating either.
Yeah, well, I don't know that it'll show your senior rating in Axis or things alike, but like, for example, a basic instructor course is a legacy course, so, it's not part of the sort of master record anymore. But I made a note there just to ask the question of the IT folks of, where that stuff is captured. I want to think, at least I hope, Wiley, that some of those things that you're mentioning are still captured in your e-services profile and not in the old LMS versus Axis. Because not all of the LMS stuff actually transferred intentionally. We did not transfer it over to Axis just because we have something new or the powers that be have decided that program or that event, if you will, is no longer relevant.
I'll do my usual deal. I will pull the record down in the hard paper copy. Then, if it's there off of the old LMS, and stick a paper copy in my personal file so I've got it. So that if it's not showing there, then I will work from being a education training person. I'll work that back through and if need be, see if I can if it needs to be sent to national to have it put back in the dates put back in system so it shows right in the new system, or find out whatever the system of re-updating that's going to be, because I'm used to working with learning management systems. I've did it for 13 years.
Yeah, sure. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not an Axis lover, but it meets the needs of CAP, I suppose. But as a guy that's worked a lot of LMSs too.
Got some stuff, but its interface with the other system didn't interface itself across like it should have.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will let you go on and pick up somebody else.
Thanks, Wiley.
Thanks.
Jeff, you had a question. Can one go back to Jeff Johnson? Can one go back to a previous level and complete the modules associated with that level? The short answer is absolutely yes. All the on-site material, like I mentioned, is there, and you can quickly download all that. What we're asking folks in the initial onslaught of folks transitioning to the online version is to let folks who need it first, and so it'll be prioritized that way. But certainly, we are encouraging folks to quote unquote audit a course if you've completed it. But I ask you to consider doing stuff like group commander training or region commander training as well, right? Because there's not a prerequisite to do that now that you've completed all levels 1 through 5.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
No problem, Jeff. All right. Any other questions? Maybe I'll take one more question or two, and then you can always email me. I'm a grumpy old man.
I don't have the hand up option.
East Coast guy. Please,
Sorry.
go ahead. Shoot me. Shoot the question.
There's a couple of options for the signing up as an instructor, or there's an option as administrative lead. What does
Yeah.
that mean? I don't remember hearing anything about that.
Yeah, great question. So administrative leader really was our initial rollout of the program, and that was to get our level chairs, our assistant chairs, and some of the administrative staff that kind of help support the backbone of the program. And that was just an option for folks to say, hey, I want to be part of this change, but I don't want to be an instructor. So we're collecting resumes of folks, and I can give you a great example. We realized a couple weeks ago that we probably need somebody to help sort of just organize changes to the curriculum. Not necessarily do the change to the curriculum, but just organize it and kind of keep a tracker. So we onboarded a member who had asked just to be an administrative leader to kind of help out from, again, think about that admin type role. But if you've got a passion to kind of help lead the program, we're going to keep a rolling list. So one of the, we're going to be true tellers of keeping the content fresh. So we all have a contract, if you will, to be in these roles for 1 year. If the boss decides to extend us, great. But some folks that we've all only committed to doing this for 1 year, and the intent behind it is to, have somebody on ready to take over our role, but also keep those fresh ideas and that academic mindset there. So hope I answered the question.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Is it possible to apply for both?
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay.
All right. How about one more, and then I'm going to go to bed because I'm an old East Coast guy. Alicia, what do you got for us? Anything?
No, I'm pretty good. Thank you very, very much for doing this.